Happening right now, a crowd is gathered at the Pulaski County courthouse for the auction of Park Plaza Mall. You can see those folks right there. The Little Rock shopping landmark is being sold after defaulting on a loan. We have a crew there. This is a live picture. We'll have an update on the mall's new owner a little bit later in the show. We want to turn now to the ongoing fight against COVID-19. The CDC is now recommending a fourth Pfizer or Moderna shot for people with moderately or severely compromised immune systems. This is for those with medical conditions or treatments that make it difficult to build and retain immunity. The fourth shot would be given at least 6 months after the third shot. To date, close to 14 million Americans have received either a booster or additional dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Meanwhile, Merck says other drug makers can produce its pill to treat COVID-19. The pharmaceutical giant inked a licensing agreement to share its formula to give poorer countries access to the potentially life-saving drug. An FDA panel meets next month to consider authorization for that drug in the U.S. Here in Arkansas, we continue to make progress, lowering our numbers across the state. 559 new COVID cases were reported on Wednesday. We did see a slight increase in the number of active cases, which now sits at 4,842, under that 5,000 threshold. But our hospitalizations are down, so that's some good news. Right now, 366 people are fighting the virus from a hospital. That's 14 fewer than we saw on Tuesday, but sadly this comes as another 19 deaths have been added to the state's total. New at noon, after months of negotiations, White House officials believe they've reached a deal that both progressive Democrats in the House and moderate Democrats in the Senate will agree to. It could pave the way for passage of the president's Build Back Better agenda. Deborah Alfarone has the latest details from the White House.
President Biden arrived on Capitol Hill to let House Democrats know there is a deal on his Build Back Better agenda that he says every Democrat in the Senate will support.
Everybody's on board. You're on board, aren't you?
But not every Senate Democrat shares his confidence.
Are you confident that all 50 Democrats are on board this deal?
No. I wish I could say yes, but there is a great deal of uncertainty within the caucus as to what's contained in the deal.
The outline of the $1.75 trillion plan includes universal pre-K for all 3- and 4-year-olds. It extends the child tax credit for another 6 years, and it reduces health care premiums brought through the Affordable Care Act. The bill does not include a national paid family leave proposal, nor does it include free community college or the tax on billionaires. The package also includes the largest federal investment ever to combat climate change, more than $500 billion. It's something that the president will be able to tout during his appearance at a climate summit in Scotland this weekend.
Having and agreeing on a plan to draw down emissions and invest in environmental justice in this country is what we want to send the president to Glasgow with.
Progressives in the House say they will not vote on the president's trillion-dollar infrastructure bill until the spending plan is ready for a vote as well.
We want to see what's actually in the bill. We want to see the legislative text. And then we're, assuming that we're fine with that, we'll vote both bills through at the same time.
Republicans are opposed to the spending plan, saying it will increase inflation and hurt the economy.
Washington Democrats are behind closed doors again, assembling an even bigger reckless taxing and spending spree.
The White House says the bill is paid for with a tax hike on corporations and the rich. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
The plan calls for a minimum 15% tax for corporations with more than $1 billion in profits. Individuals earning more than $10 million a year would see a 5% tax hike. Those earning more than $25 million would pay an additional 3% in taxes. After days and weeks of uncertainty, five-star recruit and future Hog Nick Smith Jr. will indeed be able to play basketball in his senior season at North Little Rock. Smith was ruled ineligible by the Arkansas Activities Association after a complaint claiming he violated recruitment rules in his transfer from Sylvan Hills to North Little Rock. But yesterday, the two schools announced they had both signed off on an agreement allowing Smith to play, citing that any potential violations were not the fault of Smith or his family. But there's now movement at the state capitol to make sure nothing like this happens again. Senator Missy Irvin issued a statement following yesterday's decision. It says in part, quote, "This situation sheds light on an area that clearly needs improvement to benefit all students," end quote, adding that both schools involved are calling on the AAA to re-examine the rules. She goes on to say, quote, "As a result, there is a need for our legislature to engage in this process," end quote. And on November 16th, Senator Ervin is going to call a Senate Education Committee meeting to discuss the issue. Early voting for an extension on the Little Rock School District millage is this weekend. The people have voted no the past 2 years for this measure. But as THV 11's Ashley Godwin reports, those for it say this time is different.
The difference is that we have a democratically elected school board.
For the first time in 6 years, the Little Rock School District is free of state control. LRSD Board President Vicki Hatter says this is why the millage will pass after failing the last 2 years.
We are all committed in making sure that our district is sustainable, that it's healthy.
If the millage passes, projects like the demolition and reconstruction of the McClellan School can be made possible. Without raising taxes, the millage will give $300 million to the district over a 19-year period for building updates and renovations. That includes the creation of a K-8 campus where McClellan High used to stand. Other projects include security camera upgrades, window, HVAC, and flooring replacements, landscaping and parking lot resurfacing around the school's exteriors, and a new high school in West Little Rock.
A great building with windows, with vibrant colors, it does do something right to their social, emotional awareness.
Early voting locations include the Pulaski County Regional Building, D. Brown Library, Thompson Library, Odom Community Center in Maumelle, and the First Christian Church of Sherwood.
It's usually a low turnout for these school elections, but we really want people to get out and exercise their right to vote.
In Little Rock, Ashley Godwin, THV 11 News.
Election Day is next Tuesday, November 2nd. LRSD is not the only district voting this time around. North Little Rock and Pulaski County Special School Districts have millage questions on the ballot. There's also a vote for the Central Arkansas Library millage increase. Early voting runs through Monday at the Pulaski County Election Commission office that's located at Broadway and Markham. It is closed on the weekend.